Hey everyone, what's happening, what's going on? Welcome to a new YouTube video. It's Sunday and I am right now on the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, which is probably why it's kind of loud, a bunch of cars in the background. But I'm here at a new spot where I never went diving ever, and the conditions seem okay, so let's check on the visibility underwater. But I'm gonna go diving and I will take my Fujifilm X-T3 in my underwater housing with me. And some of you have sent me some messages asking about my underwater setup for the Fujifilm system, so I figured I'll show you my underwater setup. And then also we're gonna go diving together, and I'm not gonna be taking photos, but I'll record some video footage. And then, I don't know, maybe just talk a little bit about my camera settings, what's important when it comes to filming or taking photos underwater. It's kind of similar, so you'll find yourself at home if that's something that interests you. And yeah, I can't wait to get out diving, and hopefully we'll see some wildlife. I know there's a bunch of horn sharks around here, maybe some leopard sharks, maybe we get lucky we see a seal. Or maybe the visibility is really bad and we're not gonna see anything, because I actually see there's some pretty heavy, well, there's actually some pretty heavy waves out there right now, which is not good for diving because it's, stirs up the water, makes the visibility go to shit. But yeah, so it's a beautiful day, so I figured you can't go wrong just spending some time by the ocean. So let's get ready and let's get in the water. So out there's kelp beds that I'm trying to dive to, and where hopefully we'll find some wildlife. I just really hope for the waves to go down, because I feel like the water visibility otherwise won't be as good. But if the noise of the cars that are driving by allows it, Sundays are just not good. People are just everywhere, and I actually wanted to go somewhere where there's no people, but I feel like it's almost impossible during the summer. But so here is my underwater housing and here is my camera setup. So as you can see here, this is a custom Fujifilm X-T3 underwater housing. It's actually made for the Fujifilm with the battery grip, so it fits the size. And we're gonna open it in a little bit. Here I have a focus, well, it's actually a zoom ring that attaches to this lens. So this is specifically made for the lens. It's the 18 to 55. It's actually the kit lens that comes with the camera. And so with this, you're gonna see there's some gears that are in the housing. We're gonna look into that in a second. But those gears pretty much go in here, and they allow you to then zoom and use the zoom underwater, which is kind of cool. But I mostly just keep it at 18, and I like to film everything pretty wide. So let's open up the housing and see how it looks inside. So I have opened the underwater housing. So this is how it looks inside. So in here, you can see you have pretty much like just an extension of all the buttons, right? That go on the back of the housing. It's actually not all buttons. Actually, the controls, unfortunately, they're kind of limited. But I have all these buttons set to like something custom. So with this one, I'm gonna do my white balance. And then here I can change the focus mode, and I can do all these kind of things. It's very important to do manual white balance underwater, but we're gonna talk about that in a minute. And then with this one here, this one is pretty much, and I can show you that, this one is turning this knob, which is then going to turn this knob in the back of the X-T3, and that will then allow me to change my shutter speed. And I have another control in here, which is this knob. As you can see, it's all like turning. So with this one, I can then control the front right here, which allows me to control like the aperture. If I've set this one to aperture, and I've set it to auto on the lens. And then this here on this side, as you can see, it turns this little knob, and this goes right here, which then allows me to control my zoom. And I'm really sorry about the noise here in the background. It's really bad with all the cars. But anyways, let me get all this set up. And then on the bottom of the X-T3, we're gonna have like a plate, which then slides into the housing, secures the camera, holds it in place, and then you just turn it on and go out diving. So one thing I always do when I go diving is I bring a diving knife, like this one. Good thing is when you see any like fishing lines or even like nets or whatever it is, you get tangled somewhere, it's always a good idea to have a knife for safety reasons with you. So another thing is I wear a weight belt. The weight belt pretty much counters the positive buoyancy that we have naturally, and also by wearing all the wetsuits, it just makes you float up. So with the weight belt, you kind of counter that. So that just allows you to go down quicker and just be like, ideally, be like plus minus 0 in terms of buoyancy. So you're just like floating. And the same thing goes for your camera. So it's important when you have an underwater housing and you have a camera in it, make sure to do some testing, maybe in like a pool or in your bathtub or whatever, and put some like weights in your housing or on your housing in order to have it perfectly buoyant. Because especially if you want to get smooth shots, whether it's smooth photos like with like no motion blur, or like smooth footage when you're recording video, or you're like gliding through like the kelp forest, for example, or just through the water, you want to make sure that you know, your housing is not positively or negatively buoyant, so you're just getting that smooth motion. I really hope the conditions are okay underwater. It'd be a shame to drive all the way here and then the water is all murky, but we'll see. We can only hope for the best. Finally, I'm gonna wear a hood just because we're losing a lot of heat through our head. And I don't want to lose a lot of body heat, so I'm gonna wear this as well. I think other than that, we're all set, we're all ready. So I'm gonna turn off the GoPro and I'll turn it back on when I come back. And I'll leave you with the footage that I will capture in the Pacific Ocean here in Malibu. Let's go!
So as expected, unfortunately, the visibility was really bad. I made my first attempt down, and towards the bottom it actually only got worse. And just by how the kelp is moving underwater, you can see how big the swell actually was. And that's what's causing all the bad visibility. So unfortunately I didn't get the footage that I was hoping for, and I also didn't see any wildlife except for the small fish that were swimming around.
Alright guys, so I'm back in the car now. The diving was not so great. I mean, the visibility wasn't so great. It's always great to go diving. But yeah, so the visibility, as I kind of expected, was pretty bad, especially once I went down under the kelp. Yeah, so just wanted to tell you a few more things. So whenever you are done diving, make sure you have some fresh water with you so you can rinse your underwater housing. Actually, you should soak it if you have the opportunity to do that. If you have like a bucket of water with you, that's perfect. If not, at least make sure that you have some sort of fresh water that you can just rinse it with until you get home, and then you can like soak it there, or like, you know, just shower it off once again and then dry it off so it doesn't leave any stains on the dome. Another thing that's important for taking videos and photos underwater, if you're shooting raw, it's not so important. But when you're shooting f-log, like in my case, it's very important to always manually adjust the white balance. I didn't do it here, but normally what I would do is I would attach to my underwater housing, I would attach like a gray slate, and then every 2 meters, so like roughly every 6.3, 6.4 feet or whatever, I would just do a manual white balance, right? Because it always changes. The deeper you go, which has something to do with how the light and different wavelengths of light are being absorbed by the water the deeper you go. So always manually do your white balance once you start filming. Another thing I spoke about before, very important to get your buoyancy right. In this case, my buoyancy wasn't perfect for the housing because normally I have like some underwater lights on it that are very heavily negatively buoyant, so I have it adjusted for that. But it's kind of good at the same time if it's slightly positively buoyant, just because if you ever, for whatever reason, like an emergency, you have to let go of the underwater housing, at least it doesn't sink, and it slowly floats up, so you'll be able to get it back, you know, which be pretty bad if you don't. Other than that, when it comes down to taking photos or videos underwater, the number one thing is to practice your diving, practice your breath hold, practice your free diving skills. If you're free diving, if you're doing scuba diving, you have to be a great or like a skilled scuba diver before you even touch the underwater camera, in my opinion, because number one is be a good diver, be confident underwater, be able to, you know, have perfect buoyancy, feel very safe underwater, and then start, you know, bringing the camera underwater. That's just another thing. Yeah, if you don't feel safe in the water, don't bring your camera, because it's just going to be too much to handle. And so what I sometimes do is I don't even bring my camera. I just go out, do some free diving, maybe sometimes even do like a location scout. I check out the reefs, I check out, okay, where's some good spots to take photos or videos, and then I check the conditions. I come back. Well, I should have checked the conditions today, but I was just like too excited to get out, so I didn't even check, but I should have, because yeah. But then I would have not recorded this video, so maybe it was all for the best, you know? Things happen for a reason. So anyways guys, that was it for this video. I'm gonna drive back now and try to get some vitamin D, some sunlight. And this was a super spontaneous, kind of random video with not the best footage. So if you're interested in those kind of videos, I'll be more than happy to go out again, bring my GoPro, maybe even attach it to my underwater housing, so I'll just have it running in the background, and then we could talk about underwater photography, more about videography, more about anything that interests you. So just drop it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. All the best, take care, and bye bye.